Teaching Christian Basics Lesson 9, the numbering of the commandments. Sorry, going to be in the car, just trying to get these things done. Consider this a draft version of the video, and consider this an impossible topic to talk about in a video, much less while driving. But it just so happens that there are different ways of listing the 10 Commandments. Now, you should be looking at the notes that go with this lesson, and those notes can be downloaded for free at wolfmueller.co/basics. And you'll see a chart with the 4 different ways of numbering the 10 Commandments. Now, the problem is this. If you just took the text of the 10 Commandments, I'm the Lord your God, I brought you out of the land of Egypt, you shall have no other gods, you shall not make any images, and then I promise blessings to those who keep these laws and curses to those who don't, and then don't misuse my name, remember the Sabbath, honor your father and mother, shall not murder, shall not steal. So if you just took the list, it would be natural. It's not numbered in the text, and it would be natural to divide it up probably into 9 commandments or 12 commandments. There's 13 chunks that are there, maybe 13 commandments. The problem is there's 2 texts also listed in the notes, I can never remember exactly where they are, where the Lord speaks of the 10 words, talking about the 10 commandments, which means that we got to take the 10 commandments and divide it up into 10 commandments. And it's not 100% sure, not 100% clear exactly how to do this. Now, there's 4 different divisions that different churches have used. There's the Roman Catholic numbering, there's the Lutheran numbering, there's the Jewish numbering, and there's the numbering that the Reformed or Evangelicals or other Protestant, I suppose it's, aside from the Lutheran, it'd be the Protestant numbering. And that also happens to be the same as the Eastern Orthodox numbering. Now, that point is slightly ironic because the radical reformers accuse the Lutherans of being idolaters because we don't have the prohibition for images, and that we renumbered the commandments to take out the prohibition of worshiping an image. But it just so happens that they have the same exact numbering as the Eastern Orthodox. And if anybody has images, it's the Orthodox. Whew, when you visit an Orthodox church, it's like, where'd they get all these pictures of the saints? Anyhow, so we want to look through the list and simply see how they number them. Now, maybe the best way to do it on the video is look at the uniqueness, how each one does it in a unique way. Let's start with a synagogue. Our friends in the synagogue, their uniqueness is that they take the first phrase, what we would normally recognize as the introduction to the 10 Commandments, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, they take that as the first commandment, which is kind of cool. There's not really a command in it, it's more like a promise, at least the Lord identifying himself as the one who rescued him, but they take that as number 1. And then, like the Lutherans and the Catholics, they lump the you shall have no other gods and you shall not make any images, they lump that together. That's number 2. Then you have the name and the Sabbath. You have the honor your father and mother. You shall not murder, shall not commit adultery, shall not steal, shall not bear false witness. And then that gets you to 9. And then they have number 10. They have the covet commandments lumped together. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, manservant, maidservant. That's all the 10th commandment for them. So you got it? So the Jewish numbering is, I'm the Lord your God, number 1. You shall have no other gods is number 2. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord, number 3. Remember the Sabbath day, 4. Honor your father and mother's, 5, and so forth. The general Protestant number and the Eastern Orthodox numbering is like this. They take the first commandment as, you shall have no other gods. Boom. And then they split out the prohibition of images. That's the second commandment. You shall not make any images of God. Then the third commandment is the Lord's name, and by this time they've caught up to the Jewish numbering. The 4th commandment is the Sabbath. The 5th commandment is honor your father and mother. The 6th commandment is you shall not murder. The 7th commandment, adultery. The 8th commandment, false witness. The 9th commandment, theft, false witness is the 9th commandment. And then the 10th commandment is the covet commandments combined together. So you see how they do it there. Again, looking at the chart is going to be particularly helpful. The Lutheran and the Catholic numbering is the same until the very end. They take the first commandment, as you shall have no other gods, and we include in that the prohibition for images. So the first commandment, you shall have no other gods. The second commandment has to do with the Lord's name. Third commandment, remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. And then you're at the second table already by the fourth commandment. Honor your father and mother. Fifth commandment, you shall not murder. Sixth, you shall not commit adultery. Seventh, you shall not steal. Eighth, you shall not bear false witness. And then the ninth and 10th commandments both have to do with coveting. And this is going to be the place where the Catholics and the Lutherans differ. Because, interestingly enough, if you look at Exodus 20 and Deuteronomy chapter 5, the two places where the Ten Commandments are listed, you'll find that there's a switch in order in the two different places. In Exodus chapter 20, it says, you shall not covet your neighbor's house, first. And then, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife, second. And then you shall not covet your neighbor's manservant or maidservant, ox or donkey, or anything else that is your neighbor's workers, or your neighbor's animals, or your neighbor's possessions. In Deuteronomy chapter 5, it says, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife first, and then you shall not covet your neighbor's house, then your neighbor's manservant, maidservant, ox, donkey, anything else that belongs to your neighbor. So the Lutherans, so both the Catholics and the Lutherans divide up the covet commandment. The Lutherans follow the ordering in Exodus chapter 20. So the ninth commandment is, you shall not covet your neighbor's house. And then the 10th commandment is, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife, manservant, maidservant, ox, donkey, or anything else that belongs to your neighbor. Whereas the Catholic Church will follow the ordering in Deuteronomy chapter 5. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, that's number 9. And then number 10 is house and everything else. Now what's interesting is, the Catholic numbering is really quite helpful because it sees the 9th commandment as an intensification of the 6th commandment. So the 6th commandment, you shall not commit adultery. The 9th commandment, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife. So it presses it in further. And then the 10th commandment is an intensification of the 7th commandment. The 7th commandment, you shall not steal. The 10th commandment, you shall not covet. On the other hand, the Lutheran distinction is helpful in this way. The 9th commandment, you shall not covet your neighbor's house, has to do with managing to sin while giving the appearance of righteousness, so that we don't take our neighbor's goods under a show of righteousness. This is kind of but it's legal kind of thing. So I'm gonna get something that belongs to my neighbor, but I'm gonna go through the laws and the right process. I'm gonna use the right way to do the wrong thing. And then the 10th commandment has to do with enticement. Those things that your neighbor has that have legs. So, for example, your neighbor's wife, manservant, maidservant, ox, or donkey, I can entice them over and say, well, they came to me. I didn't go and grab a hold of them. They came over to me. So that would be the distinction in the last two commandments in the Lutheran numbering. Now, which one is right? Well, of course, the Lutheran one, but the point is it doesn't matter. There's probably no right or wrong in this. In fact, the very fact that the Lord numbers the commandments differently in Exodus 20 and Deuteronomy 5 indicates that the numbering is not the thing that necessarily matters. We want to make sure we have the content. All the content of the commandments we want to meditate on and think on and consider how that gives us wisdom. So there's Teaching Christian Basics. Whew, tough one for the car. Lesson 9, the numbering of the commandments.